The creepy reel brings you Stay Away from the Basement, Part 1, written by staticwrites. My name is Mark Harrison, and my uncle went missing 3 days ago. His workplace called us and told us that he hadn't come home that night for his shift. No one has heard anything from him for the past few days, and since he lives so far away, we haven't got the chance to go looking for him yet. Allegedly, his workplace called the police, but the officers apparently didn't come back after being sent out. The police force in that area is rather small and, to be honest, pretty pathetic, so they practically gave up and told us to deal with it. I suppose that he had simply taken a few days off. I turned to Reddit no sleep or always go when I'm bored and discovered a post titled, "Whatever you do, don't leave the basement." I clicked on it and read all the way through. That was when I noticed some striking similarities to my Uncle Ted. The small basement window, the layout of the basement and kitchen, even his stubborn personality was on point. Knowing from the little time I'd spent with him that he was an avid Reddit user, I connected the dots and realized what was going on. I immediately hopped in my car, turned the ignition, and took off down the road for the 2-hour-long drive. I know, there was only a small chance that the story was true and that my uncle truly was locked in his basement, but I was worried about him and I wanted to make sure he was safe. Besides, what did I have to lose? After the long and nerve-wracking trip, I finally pulled into my Uncle Ted's dirt driveway. Already, there was tension in the air, as if my very existence was a ticking time bomb, and I knew I wasn't alone. I swung open the car door and hopped out, closing it behind me. The sound of the car door slamming shut echoed through the empty autumn air. I felt uneasy and ready to get this over with. I walked up the driveway, cautiously looking over my shoulder every few seconds. Clouds had begun to fill the sky and rain seemed imminent. As I reached the porch, the familiar rumble of thunder sounded around me. I speedily pulled the key out of my pocket and started unlocking the door. As I twisted the key around in the lock, I peered inside the house through the windows on either side of the front door. I could have sworn that I saw a figure dart into the shadows. It was incredibly dark in the house, but I definitely saw something move. I swallowed, remembering the Reddit post, but I decided to keep going. The door swung open with a loud creak, and I stepped inside. As I did so, my phone buzzed. Hesitantly, I checked it and saw that an unknown number was texting me. I froze. As I checked the text, my heart dropped.
Have you learned nothing from your uncle? Get as far away from that godforsaken house as you can while you're still able to.
"Very funny, Uncle Ted," I said to the seemingly empty house. "Is this some elaborate joke? If so, then you got me." No answer, just silence. "Uncle Ted?" I cried. "You can come out now." My phone buzzed again, this time with a text that read,
Run.
"What the hell?" Suddenly, I heard footsteps coming from the stairs to my right. I cried out in surprise and took off into the house, not even thinking about what I was doing. The thought barely crossed my mind that this was a prank. It sounded like several pairs of footsteps thudding against the floor after me. That, more than 2 feet. I leaped into the kitchen and toward the open basement door. I didn't care what was ahead, only what was coming from behind. I slammed the door to the basement shut and turned the lock as the footsteps hit the floor next to the doorway. The basement was empty and dark. The floor was covered in empty chip bags and cans of beer and various energy drinks. I ducked behind a chair and tried to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed, but I ignored it.
Hello?
I heard a voice coming from right outside the basement door.
It's me, Uncle Ted.
As previously mentioned, I had never been very close to my uncle, but I could still recognize his voice, and the voice that came from beyond the basement was not his. Granted, it was almost perfect. It sounded like a seasoned voice actor giving an incredible impression of his voice, but it still wasn't him. The voice was too strained, too deep.
Oh, come on, nephew.
The voice said.
It was just a prank. You can come out of the basement.
Uncle Ted would never call me nephew. He'd always call me Mark. Get the hell away from me, I said weakly. I know, it was stupid. I read some of the comments on my uncle's post, and the general consensus seems to be that replying to the voice is a horrible idea. But I was blinded by anger and fear, and those two emotions can cause even the strongest of people to make questionable decisions.
Now,
It said.
that's no way to talk to your uncle. Now is it?
You aren't him! I cried.
Just come out!
It said.
Come on. For me.
I didn't respond. Though at that point, it wouldn't have done much good for me to stay silent. It already knew I was down here, and now it was after me. I pulled out my cell phone and looked at the most recent text from the unknown number.
You've made your bed. Now you must lie in it.
I've searched the basement, but there's no trace of Uncle Ted. I can only assume that he was taken, or that he escaped. I hope the latter is true. I need help. I need advice. There isn't much food down here, and I'm not sure what to do. Does anyone know what's going on? Has this happened to anyone else? Please, I don't have much time. It keeps knocking and knocking. This story was written by staticwrites. This is part 1 of a 4-part series. For more scares or to stay up to date on his work, please give him a follow. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share, as new content will be uploaded regularly. To submit a story request or stay up to date on my uploads, follow my subreddit and Twitter. All links in the description below. Thank you, and stay creepy.